So I'm here today with my buddy Christo, Streets of Sin Tours. Um, Thank you for inviting me over today.
Dude, I appreciate it, Butch. I'm excited to have this conversation, man.
And
Anytime I get to talk to you.
we're sitting here this is the Airbnb location,
Mhm.
right? And there's a lot of my artwork in here, which I was excited to come here today, get some footage in here, some photos. There's about 20 of my pieces in here.
Close to it. It's
Yeah.
probably why people book. We make sure that we have Butch's pictures in every single room, and that's usually the major selling point.
Yeah. I wanna
They bring it up every time. They're like, this cool art place, it fixed our energy. We're like, hell yeah. So anyway, it does add a big part to it, man. It freaking pops. We love it.
I want to do like a video and some photos and advertise it on social media, like go book the House of Andro.
Oh, definitely, no
Yeah.
doubt. That's actually a good name for it. But I mean, eventually, as we continue to grow, I mean, all of these pieces will end up in my future property. So
Yeah.
so
It's like a little, it's like a cool little museum art gallery.
I want to wake up to them though. That's the thing that pisses me off. So it's like an inspiration. You know, we use this kind of investment money to buy some shit, but I mean, this kind of stuff it fires me up. So
Yeah, we just hung this one up today, and this turquoise kind of matches this very well.
it's hot.
And the stairwell's amazing. I'll get that in some footage after a while when we're done with this and film that.
I don't know what's my favorite part of this thing. I think I'd have to go back and forth between the angels. Man, there's so many different parts. I think anytime you walk by this piece, you can find something new and cool
Yeah.
that lights you up every single time, man.
This is a mixture of my pieces called Manic, the style of
Okay.
it, Manic with like Alice in Wonderland. So anyway, I'm here today to kind of introduce people to you. I've posted about you before on my page, advertising your tour company, Streets of Sin. And I guess first off, where are you born and raised? Where are you from?
Okay, born and raised right here in New Orleans, Old Jefferson. Went to the whole Catholic school thing, small little high school, Loyola, all of it. Lived here my whole life, and I love this city. You know, it's kind of like a love-hate relationship. But doing grad school in Loyola, I got an invite to go to Hollywood, so I did leave and do like a 3.5-4 year stint in Hollywood playing drums out there, rock and roll, and that really was like my growing up kind of college experience in a sense. It happened right after Katrina. So it was like mid-20s. So I was going out there a little later. I mean, most of the bands and people, they start fresh out of high school. So it was interesting. You know, we had nicer music equipment in my band out there in Hollywood compared to other folks that were kind of, you know, doing the whole restaurant and bartending. I had like a real, you know, job. So it was cool.
And you did that for how many years?
3.5, 4. So this is right around the time. I mean, and our music is very kind of centered, you know, that kind of like dark, Perfect Circle, 9 Inch Nails, very dark melodic music.
Yeah.
So when it goes as far as like crazy emo, but we were like right there, and I loved it. It was really cool. It was different from what I was doing here. High school was just straight up heavy metal. You know, favorite bands locally were like, you know, Acid Bath and Down, and a little heavier.
Yeah.
When we went out there, it was a little more commercialized, and I like the whole melodic, you know, kind of 9 Inch Nails feel to it.
I like the melodic Deftones.
Yeah,
songs.
that was it. I mean, that's one of my favorite bands, a big influence on me. But yeah, that was the kind of vibe. And I loved LA, man. I mean, LA gets such a bad rap, some of the people being out there. But when I was out there, so different from here because people move 1,000 miles a minute.
Yeah.
And, you know, even but we practice every day. We put a lot of hard work in every single song. But those band practice facilities, when you step down the hallway, it really, really inspired you to just go back inside and practice a little more. You're just surrounded by people really working their craft, whether it was art, music, movies, all of it. Everybody's just freaking hustling. It was really cool. What's interesting is whatever you want to call it, self-centered or people focused on themselves.
Mm-hmm.
Any opportunity people had to do a music video for us or to do anything. I got a friend. People always kind of really helped out. If you made friends out there and they knew somebody, they'd introduce you. It was really, really awesome experience. It kind of changed my whole perspective on LA and those people out there in the West Coast. I have,
Yeah.
it all changed.
So there is some good people out there.
Hell yes. Again, big time, man. And that's what I was saying. Like, any music videos we did, it was, from a guy named Aaron that saw us at a show at the Viper Room, was like, shit, I like y'all.
Yeah.
No charge. I just want to practice my own stuff with you guys. Or our first big recording gig was an engineer that wanted to kind of get his foot in the ground. Love you guys. Saw you at a show. So it was that really, really kind of cool vibe. And that pumped me up. I always have a great taste in my mouth when I think about, what most people call maybe your competition or whatever. Every band was so nice. We didn't have the millions of dollars and all the crazy drugs and the rock and roll stores on the Sunset, in the Hollywood Hills, but it was fun. It was a really, really great experience for me, and helped kind of intertwine me back where we are.
Yeah, and then you winded up coming back here.
Yep, band broke up. Put my freaking tail between my legs. It was like one of those things, it's like you think back, like, fuck, man, I wish I just should have joined another band, you know what I mean? Or should just kind of replaced them. But drugs, little things like that. Half of our band was straight up, no alcohol, no drugs, no nothing. And the other half, you had some, serious drinking and things like that. And oh man, it makes sense. We grew up watching like Behind the Music.
Yeah.
You see all these bands and their great, crazy drug stories, and usually they're all doing it together. And anytime I watch these, I'm like, yeah, that makes sense. I think you need to all even be doing it or not be doing it. So it wasn't a healthy balance, but it was still, recorded some good CDs, made some great friends, and came back here with a different work ethic. And that's, I think, the most important part of, I think where our energies align so well.
Yeah. So you came back here, and what did you get into? Did you get into the tours first?
Dude, no, I actually, holy shit, this is gonna sound so bad. Look, I was in my late 20s, early 30s, so I never smoked. I never done drugs before in my life. And the two companies where I got all my really good practice in what I'm doing today were Philip Morris and a pharmaceutical company. So I work for the evils, this tobacco company, this pharmaceutical company. I sold some good drugs, that my grandma would take. But anyway, it was one of those things. I look back, I'm like, what the fuck? They don't align with my, what the hell? But anyway, it was one of those things. So I was always really good at sales, so good that, I would always, these companies would force me to teach. And I really, really enjoyed getting in front of, whether it be 4 sales reps or 200 for certain companies. And they would have me, present products or, teach them whatever it may be.
Because of your speaking skills.
Yeah, they just saw.
Where did you gain that from? Your speak? Because that's one thing I noticed about you, man. You're a good storyteller on the tours, but you just got this way of speaking. People's gonna listen to you.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we can get into that a little bit, but it's definitely practice. Now I've had to look back on it. There was a few professors and doctors at Loyola who kind of really, really they noticed something. Dr. Johnson and this teacher Mike Wilson, they were kind of just business professors, but they would always kind of be like, man, you're gonna freaking, if you're not a teacher one day, you should definitely use your skills. And it was just presenting a school project for a final grade. You know what I mean? But all the folks in that little group would always want to be in my group because they knew I would help them, or would have a good presentation.
Yeah.
So that was it, an early age. Yeah, and I think that kind of intertwines with the whole performance aspects. It's like being a drummer, even though I'm not holding a freaking microphone or a guitar, we're never considered part of the band, but you know what I mean. We're in the back. It's still a performance aspect, and I think that's where it comes from. When you are speaking, there is performance involved in that, and I think that's where it comes from.
It takes a lot for somebody to have the courage to get up in front of a crowd, speak to people, be in a band, get on a stage. I admire that kind of stuff. I talked to Justin about that a lot, how he feels before he gets on stage and performs. And I'm like, man, it takes a lot of guts and balls to just get on a stage in front of someone and just open yourself up and just sing. And it takes a lot of courage. Or even if you're just speaking,
Yeah, definitely. I had a bass player in high school, and he would like get so nervous sometimes he'd throw up before every single show. I never had that element, but I there was always kind of like a pumped up feeling. You know, it's like that way even before I do a tour. You never know what's going to happen. You never know who's watching. And you always want, I think, us kind of artists, whether it be music, speaking, or your painting. We fight these elements of perfection. I think as we mature in our crafts, we understand, like, you can try all day long and it's never going to be just the way you want it, but to get to a point to where you're comfortable, and that's always how I felt pretty comfortable being nervous, and knowing that everything might go perfect during a song or during the tour or whatever. But yeah.
And then so you came here, and let's get into how you dug into these tours and stuff, and starting your own.
Yeah, so I had a good friend, and I like to do all the presentation shit. He was doing a tour thing and invited me to come be a part-time tour guide. I always loved history, and when I meet friends from grammar school, high school, and now they see what I'm doing and what I this company that I'm trying to that I'm building, they're like, fuck, that makes perfect sense, bro. Growing up, I always loved history. But you put again, I know it's memes or these things we make up in our heads, but history, you're either going to be a teacher or you're going to work in a museum. I didn't want to do any of that shit. And I know that's not what it is, but I didn't go to college for it just because I was like, I ain't going to be a freaking teacher. So I did take this other route, but my love for history, got it from my grandma. She always read us whatever World War II book or books about the revolution or civil, all of that stuff. And I think that really kind of got me into the flow of when I got the invite. I was like, fuck, I love this. I love our history. I know so much about the French and the Spanish. Well, I thought I did. And then, that was kind of like the early steps. And started studying. One tour, turned into 3, turned into 5. And I started doing that shit every night. I just loved it. I love going down there and learning stories and sharing them with these folks that never been here before, or my family or friends.
Uh-huh.
And that's when I was like, I gotta quit all this company shit. And I started doing it full time just because I was finally driving home being like, damn, this is it. I love what I do.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So when you get into, I'm gonna check the phone too real quick.
You good?
When you get into, we still good. So when you start, you kind of coattail behind somebody that's giving tours and listen, and you have to retell their stories.
Kind of in a sense, yeah. So it's I work for another company. I'm like, that now they're all my competition, but I work around some really good guides. And the way it kind of works is if you join, you teach under me, you learn the stories. You do what they call shadow, and then you do your own story. And and I had a little script. You follow some people. You're like, oh shit, I like that. Oh, that's good. I'm gonna do my own research. And everybody has their own thing, but you can basically early on give people stories, and what you find over time is your personalities and your own likings will, come over.
You kind of tell it your own way.
Put
your little flavor to it.
Got to, man. That's not fun. And I know that I'm sure there's folks out there that maybe just give somebody else's tour, but to each their own. But I love, my favorite way of teaching history or storytelling is, intertwining fun things that people relate to today. Yeah. It's like there's folks that haven't been in New Orleans, but they got the Joan of Arc statue. It's one of my favorite stops. Yeah. I think it's the most gorgeous statue in our city. And
it is beautiful.
Yeah, and I'll talk about how Joan of Arc remind me of Mike Tyson, and you get a laugh. But once I intertwine the two aspects of why I'm bringing those two people up in ascendance, they're like, fuck, oh, that's right, And Joan of Arc was somebody, so real quick, we can do this really fast. She was part of the French army during the 100 Years' War. The French, the whole time during this 100 Years' War, it went on from 1337 to 1456. And England basically was like, hey, France, your land's ours now. And France is like, suck it. And that was the beginning of the war. And all throughout this war, England just kicking the shit out of the French, right? So King Charles, he hears about this young lady, this young 16-year-old girl having these dreams saying I can help the French win. And this dude's rock bottom because England's kicking the shit out of him. So he's like, you know what? Let me talk to her. He turns her into a soldier, cuts her hair, the whole shebang. And the second she shows up, the French start whipping the fuck out of the English. It's almost like a lucky charm. Now, she's not wielding a sword, but historians argue that she was helping the generals maybe place the cannons on the battlefield or doing some kind of strategy. We don't know to this day. It's very mystery. I mean, we're dealing with, centuries and centuries, all the information gets twisted. But when I bring up Mike Tyson and her, English will start hearing that she's on the other side of the battle. And the English are like, fuck, that Joan of Arc, Jesus Christ, this is going to be a long day.
Yeah.
It was over before it started. She had that psychological power. And it's what we think about, me and you, similar age, watching Mike Tyson and these badass boxers, the matches were over before it even started. He had so much psychological power over them, whether it be the stare down or just knowing how hard he hit the last guy before they fought. So, that psychological power, it's over before it kind of starts. And I bring that kind of shit up, in my stories or, kind of stuff that we grew up hearing. Not so much some of these 20-somethings now. They're like, Mike Tyson, I'm like, fuck. So I have to read, I have to talk about it that way. But anyway, that's just like, that's how I like to kind of sprinkle my own kind of, I know I'm jumping ahead as far as, storytelling, but that's how I like to, do my own versions
put your
storytelling.
flavor to it.
Yeah. So that happened over time. But yeah, so back to your question, Butch, and that was right around the same time we met. I became a tour guide for another company, and we'd all do stories around your first gallery, and started buying little shit out there, man. And I always thought, fucking man, it's got to be in a rock and roll band or something. I'd see you walking and shit. It's kind of like the same energy, same vibe. I was like, man, that dude looks badass, And then one day you gifted me a little bag and saw me wearing your shit, and ever since then, man, I was like, it was like the beginning of a nice big friendship, But yeah, so anyway, worked for them and eventually broke off and started my own company with a few other tour guides, and really kind of started diving into the craft. And then I broke off this past year, and now I feel truly free and happy,
Yeah.
But all of these little projects have helped, really help build where
To this point.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and so like when you're studying, doing research for these stories on these tours, how far are you going? How in depth are you going? Just straight through the internet? Are you going into bookstores? Are you going to police stations to get records? Or how does this work?
Yeah, so I guess all right. So each story is different, and some of them you can. Some of them there's deep dives you can take. Some of them not so much. The older you get, the harder it is. But this city, New Orleans specifically, has great archives. The French were really good at it when they came here. The Spanish were great at it. The Catholics were really good at it. And you mix all of these together, we got great records. So who was born here, who was baptized, all of this stuff. So we over time we have great history here in our city, New Orleans. A lot of people come here to write books just because we have such great, archives in our universities. So, for instance, this is a story. So I just got finished writing a brand new tour, all right? And 6 new stories. And over the past, I'd say 3 years, I've studied these stories. So any book I can get my hands on, I'll talk to different historians, professors, tour guides, and I'll pick their brains on certain subject matter, interview them, sit down, take notes, on and on it goes. And then some of them you may just have like 10 newspaper articles. Some of them you have 10 books that you can study. Example is the Upstairs Lounge. And that was a fire that took place in 1973. 32 gay men burned to death in this terrible fire. It's still unsolved to this very day. Our city's never named a culprit. Inside that book, you have two books that were written on that subject matter. And then, for instance, I We may speak to some folks in the community. What kind of other books would you recommend? And I just kind of take it from there. Newspaper articles. Oh shit, this is from this guy wrote this about these bars, and it kind of piece it all together. I want so much knowledge that I can do a 2-hour presentation on each story that I'm gonna only talk about for 8 minutes.
Right.
And all of those other things, I can use that knowledge maybe one day for a cool question you might have, or a family might just pull out, and you have that information, and that adds to, I think, the overall value and content. When you're on an experience, a tour, or hearing somebody's story, and you ask a question, it'll add to that kind of authority and the overall value of the story itself.
And for me, as an outsider, I've been on many tours. Many years ago, I went on a tour. And some of them were like, all right, this was a trap. Like I felt like I just paid some money, and the person was very dry and just telling, like they were reading off a script type of thing. So that's what a lot of people ask me when I tag you and shit, and they're like, oh, you just doing that because that's your friend? I'm like, no. I'm like, I know tours. I've been on plenty of tours, and I can tell you, like, this guy's doing it with a love and a passion for it. He's a storyteller. He's very deep into this. So that's a huge thing that I like to try to get across to people.
Yeah.
Like, hey, you have to. There's a difference here of all these tours, because my years in the quarter, it was some random nights, bro. You can turn down any street and it's like 10 tours on this street, 6 on this one. Turn around the corner, there's 4. And I'm talking about on a given night, bro, like you're just thousands of people just on tours. And I'm just like, holy shit. It's insanity.
It is wild. It's a crazy business.
Groups of like
20,
40.
Yeah.
I've seen tour groups of 30 and 40, and I'm like, there's no way these people are taking in what the hell is going on. And I stand outside my gallery, and I'm watching this shit, and there's the tour guide. There's like 10 of them there, 10 here, 3 of them over there is bobbling on the wall drunk. I'm like, man, this is insanity. You need at least, what do you recommend is a good group? 10 and under?
I like to do 20 and under.
Yeah.
So city laws 30, right? They got some city laws, 28, 30 people. 10 to 20 is perfect, man. I like to kind of be able to connect. By the end of the night, I usually know, if not everybody's name, everybody's city where they're from. I usually say like Team Atlanta or Team, Boston or whatever. It gives you that freedom to be able to speak to them, maybe while they're walking. Always stop the traffic, which is a pretty cool little thing that not many people do. Yeah. But during that little time, I'm checking in with them. What's up? You having fun? The little things like that. It's like what I tell all my guests. They're like, man, you like these guys? And everybody's so nice. I never have any issues, but at the same time, it's the little things that you do that can set you apart, and they make it really, really easy for me to, have fun and do that stuff.
And to me, I would imagine to take a group of people in the French Quarter on a tour and keep their attention has got to be hard also, right?
Yeah.
There's this, you can't stop the shit going on.
No, absolutely. And I tell people that all the time. Like, people will thank me for my energy, or, dude, that was so awesome. And my job, I joke around with them sometimes, is if I can just get people for an hour and a half straight not to pull out their cell phone to check it.
Yeah.
It's one of those things. And I know people have to do it. So I'm ever like, but at the same time, like, it's, if you do suck, or if you aren't interesting, we have all the entertainment just 6 inches away from our hand at any given time. You know what I mean? So it's a nice little escape to hear some stories. I like to sprinkle history into them, and but that is my challenge. To what you're saying, you have so much. Maybe not even in your group. On any given night, you could see a freaking parade, a second line, and all of this stuff.
A domestic abuse incident across the street.
Anything, yeah. People freaking going nuts, talking to walls. But yeah, it is that. So anyway, keep that 15 to 20. It helps with what you're saying.
Yeah.
I don't mind
I think
having a big group.
more
but
intimate.
yeah, it's a great vibe.
And you can keep their attention. Another thing I noticed too, I went on one tour with you, but we were about to start. He's like, "Hold up, man, we got to go get some drinks." These suckers came back with like hand grenades like this, and I was like, "What are they doing, man? They about to be plastered on this tour."
It is probably my worst nightmare as a tour guide, seeing people show up drunk, and I've gotten so good at kind of tweaking that kind of stuff. Not in like a drill sergeant kind of way. People like, damn, Christo, that was hardcore. But I'm not instilling the fear of God in them. But if you lay down a good groundwork, and I think that's way with anything, any kind of like standards, anytime you take anybody, you have high standards in all your art. I know it's a little different, but if you lay down the groundwork early on, shit is less likely to happen throughout the night for me. So when I say, hey man, if anybody's fucking, misstepping or getting too drunk or rowdy or disruptive in this group, you're out.
You're out of here.
This is your one warning, and that's it. And I very rarely have to, do that. But when I say that, people are like, oh shit, I made the right choice. I feel like I'm in a good, awesome spot, and I convey it in a very fun way. But yeah, those things, shit, if people can take over. They come over with drinks, but it is my worst nightmare. I've seen like 8 people with like those big green hand grenades. I'm like, oh god. But then it's sometimes, they're in New Orleans, they're having a good time, they're quiet, they're perfect guest. Yeah. So it's hard to kind of always judge a book by its cover, but there's always a few responsible folks that just talk to them, but it's all good.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I like to talk about, like, I ask people like, how's the French Quarter, New Orleans, good and bad for you, or like, what's the craziest thing you've ever seen or witnessed or experienced in the French Quarter?
Dude, well, so my family freaks out every night that I work in the French Quarter. And to your first part of your question, like, I always need like 2 days off. Going down there every night, and you work down there, every day for years. There's a break. There's this like love, hate. There's this energy that brings me there, but at the same time, never drinking, never doing drugs. All this debauchery is, I'm like, oh shit, like what the hell? On every corner, it's everywhere.
In a space this big.
Yes, 12 by 6. It's all just jammed up in there, and there's no place like it on earth for both good and bad. So I always have at least like a 2-day rest from an awesome week. It's always helped me with my mind, but going back to the initial question, man, craziest thing. So, dude, I had this freaking dude, and this is about probably right after COVID, man. So probably like 2 years ago. He has this, God, I forgot his name. He had like a really cool name, but he contacted me. He's a young, like 20-something, video blogger. And he's like the White Ghost or some shit was his handle. So he contacts me. He's like, man, do you mind if I have any video equipment on the tour tonight? And I'm like, fuck, this is no problem, dude. I don't mind ever being videotaped or whatever. Came there, he had like 2 cameramen, and this dude and the cameramen were local guys that he hired. I was like talking to them before. I was like, man, y'all can step back, do whatever you want, have a good time. Well, dude, we're doing the tour, the second story, this White Ghost guy starts touching the houses and feeling for energy, which I've seen before. Right? People want to touch certain haunted places. They're like, oh shit, whatever. So I'm like, all right, whatever, weird. He's like, everybody, we should stop and we should all like recognize this energy. And we got a group of 20 folks. I'm like, dude, we can't stop. We're not doing that. So I'm like, all right, dude's a little weird, but whatever. He's behaving. The next stop, this son of a bitch is like sitting on the ground and he starts speaking in tongues. I'm like, what the? So now at this point, I think I'm being like, I think freaking, I'm being punked. I'm like these dudes, these video guys. This dude's like, we got his eyes back, and my whole group is like, what this shit's going on, Chris? I'm like, I have no idea, bro. So anyway, I'm like, dude. I'm like, bro. I'm like, you can't do this. I'm like, so this is in the middle of the story. He's like, I'm like, oh. I'm like, this is a fucking exorcist. So the dudes, and I know it's not a joke because the cameramen are now embarrassed. They're apologizing, being like, Christo, I'm sorry. they see me and my group being like, bro, we can't have this, right? So we finally get to the story. He does his little like spiel. He's speaking tons. We're walking by MRB's, a little street in the French Quarter. We have our little halftime break, and I'm like, bro, this is it. You're out. I'm like, we can't have this kind of, you speaking tongues and rolling. You freaking everybody out, bro. This ain't good. And he starts losing it, and he starts, he starts throwing. He basically tries to, I guess, throw demons, or he was like throwing ghosts and demons at my group. He's like, damn you, Christo. He's like telling my whole group, y'all are all gonna meet the maker tonight. I'm like, oh shit. I'm like, this dude's now freaking trying to, damn us into death, whatever. Anyway, he finally did leave. I made jokes the whole night because we saw birds following, and I was like, man, that's probably the spirit of the white ghost watching us. He turned into a bird after the tour. It was wild. But anyway, so I guess my friend, wherever he's out there, if you're watching this, the white ghost, yeah, good times, man, good times, man. So some kind of like demon exorcist dude speaking tongues. I don't know if it was right tongues, I don't know. But anyway, that was pretty solid. That's the one story. Like, anytime I think about somebody seeing ghosts or anything, I'm like, I had a freaking whacked out ghost.
And this dude had the money to hire a camera crew.
Dude, whatever. Yeah,
I wonder
I'm trying to find him. I want to find him. I don't know, man.
He's got to be on YouTube. There's got to be a way to find him on YouTube.
Dude, spoke tongues, man. Rolled his eyes in the back of my head, sat down on the ground in front of my group, man, while it was storytelling. I was like, man, jeez. It's hard not to laugh, trying to hold shit together, but you got 15, 20 people, some of them are freaking out,
Uh-huh.
I'm thinking like, this is great. This is what a freak show, but yeah. That was one of my favorites. Other than that, you deal with your folks that you see in the corners, but nothing crazy, man. I've been very, very blessed as far as, seeing a few people get hit by cars, or, the occasional, drunk folks yelling at people.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's about it.
Yeah, I have a shit ton of stories, just wild, crazy nights, just wild shit I've seen.
What's one of the ones that come to your mind? You got to give me a story. I know this is, I know we're talking about tours and stuff, but yeah, I want a Butch story.
All right.
You stay out later than I do, so you're like a vampire, man. I go to bed at like 9:30. The second my tour is over, so people are just getting to where like, I know you've been out there later, so.
Yeah, I've had some wild times. Some of the shit I gotta be like, can I say this? Can I say
that's
that?
So that's how I feel sometimes.
I just the video I posted with Justin, I told a couple of wild stories on there. Some of them I edited out with sound. And
well, give me one. I want to hear.
I'll give you a safe one.
Yeah, give me a safe one. Give me a safe one.
All right, so I was in the first gallery we had, and across the street's Harry's, right?
Okay, so you want like by Dumaine.
Yeah.
All right, sweet.
So there's a door here, and there's it's like a shotgun. You can see Harry's from my desk. So this couple comes in, guy and girl, married, whatever they were. Mm-hmm. You could tell they were lit, and they bought some art or whatnot, and I'm at my desk, and the girl it's his wife, she comes up to me and starts talking. They're drunk. She's talking to me about, my stuff. The husband's on that side talking about stuff over there. And she starts asking me to kiss me, and I'm like, whoa, 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 whoa. I'm like, man, that's your husband over there, and this dude's fucking huge. And I'm like, man, what are you doing? Like, I'm trying to chill. So I brushed her away. Eventually they went back to Harry's, and they are hammered out of their box. So the dude's like, he bought some piece from in the front, and he's like, I got to go to my safe at the hotel and get the cash, whatever. So they wind back up at Harry's. So the whole time we watching them, and you could see them at the bar on the stools,
yeah.
And she's like wobbling on the stool, and I'm like, bro, she's about to eat it. She's about to fall, So we just watching, and the dude's not even paying attention to her, and she's just like blacked out drunk. And bro, all of a sudden she goes on that cement, and you can hear it from across the street. Boom! Dude, she was out. She had a softball on her head right here. Ambulance comes out. The whole fucking intersection's a shit show. I'm like, whoa. it was just a shit show, man.
Could you imagine the Thanksgiving and Christmas dinners? And that's what I always think about. So anytime I'm out there, I'm like, a lot of these people we come across, they have families and kids, and I'm like, what the shit?
Dude, they just wow.
People get wild, dude.
It's an adult Disneyland with no rules.
Yeah.
And man, they come wild out, bro. I've seen crazy, bizarre shit.
Yeah, especially if you don't know how to like pace yourself. You know, I always tell people like New Orleans, at least for me, I don't stay out late at night partying, but when I go to like maybe like a city like Vegas or something like that, 2 to 3 nights. Some of these people come here for a whole week. They can't handle a whole week of food and drinking. But by night 3, I can tell like you got here Monday. I can see their faces in my group sometimes. I don't know if it's good or bad, but I'm like, holy shit, this is your like 4th day here, huh? And, like it's on their face if you stay in the French Quarter. It definitely has a wild effect.
And I had an apartment around the corner from the gallery, the pink buildings on Dumaine right there.
Okay. I know which one you're talking about.
I was in the back, and there's like a little staircase. I'm in there one night, and I hear some noises. I'm like, what the fuck, man? I peek through the blinds. They under the staircase in front of my door, getting it on, you know? I'm like, what the fuck? So I was like, it was like 3 a.m. I did like this on the door. Boom, boom, boom. Dude, they jumped up, was running, trying to pull their pants up. It was funny as hell, dude.
Yeah, it's definitely a freak show. We definitely, every day's new. You know, like I said, I try to, stay on the straight and narrow there on the streets, but yeah, it is pretty wild.
And like I said, man, there's stories and experiences that I gotta stop myself from saying them on a video. Because I'm like, man, somebody might use that against me or some shit.
Yeah, I witnessed some shit. Even like, during like Mardi Gras at like 3 o'clock, Mardi Gras just passed a few weeks for us, and yeah, I'm like, holy shit, that's happening right here in front of 1,000 people with phones. Yeah. And that's another dynamic, man. Holy shit, like I get the whole Mardi Gras madness of Bourbon Street, and I never went there growing up, ever. I'll walk around just during the day before my tour just to kind of see it for the first time. Always stay away from that element growing up. My family just went to St. Charles or, got a little spot in Metairie for the parades, and that was our Mardi Gras. But walking around, now you have whatever's happening, whatever it may be, showing your body, whatever. You have just hundreds of people with their phones watching. I'm like, are they employed? Like, what the hell? I'm always thinking about, who their friends, family, who they work for. That always happens. And I know that's not the best place to go.
They call Vegas the Sin City, but I don't believe so. Yeah. I believe the French Quarter is New Orleans. Yeah.
No, it's we talked about rock and roll. Buddy does some rock and roll. Marilyn Manson's one of my favorite, rock stars, and he was always quoted as saying, New Orleans is the closest place to hell on earth, and I completely agree. And again, it has that light and dark, and I think all the stories I tell, specifically this new route that that I just launched a few weeks ago. I started thinking when I'm studying it, there's so much dichotomy between light and darkness. Whether I'm telling a story about executions and the French punishment, it's right across the street from where this beautiful cathedral is. You have God and these executions. You have this couple that was in love and then eventually turns into this murder and suicide. All of it. And it's the same thing of what we're talking about. We love these elements, but at the same time, right around every corner.
And these celebrities move here and lose their mind here too. Nick Cage came here and lost his mind. He was arrested.
Yep.
Lenny Kravitz had a spot across the street from Tanner's.
Can't stay long.
Yeah.
or you can't leave. It's one of those kind of like, again, it's even all or like, it's not all or nothing, but you know what I mean.
What's the guy in the Matrix? Not Keanu Reeves, but the other Lawrence Fishburne.
Yeah,
he's got an apartment on I want to say Bourbon or the next street.
Yeah.
And then Brad Pitt and Angelina had somebody seen them at Verdi Mart.
Yeah.
It's like, imagine seeing Angelina Jolie at Verdi Mart.
And it's one of those cool things, man. It's again, it's the love part of our city and our vibe. It's very different from what we were talking about with Hollywood. You have that, it's nicknamed the Big Easy. It really is. We don't give two shits. And I
Yeah.
think that's what a lot of these folks from these places, or if you're famous or whatever, it's just, we're just, hey, what's up? It's not going to be, all up in your faces. We're so laid back. Again, it's one of those things to where I always talk about with my mother, or people that that ask me about, Streets of Sin or storytelling, or people like, well, that's why we get along so well. The hustle aspect and the practice and the hard work you put in on something that you love and you're passionate about. The energy of the city allows people like us just to run laps around some people.
Yeah.
Again, it's not to hate on, like I said, my competition of other people that are doing this, but fuck, man, all those good elements, just, I'm like, I can't stop, dude.
It fuels you.
It does,
inspires
man.
you.
Yeah. But anyway, it's just, everybody else was like, that's good. That's okay. And that's our energy here.
Yeah.
It's very good. It's awesome. It's different from other, bigger or smaller cities in our country. But at the same time, man, folks, it's what draws these famous folks here to hang out.
In 2021, I was going to get another gallery on magazine. I was looking at a building that was available where Trent Reznor had his studio when he lived here many years ago.
That studio was badass. I used to toss tapes in my high school band over the. We used to drive around his neighborhood. He lived on 2nd Street, really close to Britannia, and he had that studio, man. He used to toss fucking tapes over.
And I was just like, man, imagine if I would have went through and got that spot. I could have used that as like advertised, boosting, like, my galleries in Trent Reznor's old studio.
Yep.
Like, that would have been epic, man. To have that.
He records some great music there, man. That whole little area, that block on Magazine, it's such a gorgeous, little, kind of apartment structure.
Yeah.
Dude, I didn't know this, but my good friend told me about this story, and it's almost like one of these sad things. So his previous studio, you good?
Yeah, just checking it.
So his previous studio, where he did Downward Spiral, right? So that badass album, I want to say it was like 94. He recorded that in the Sharon Tate house, where the Manson murders are.
Okay.
It's an empty house. He turned into a studio. He owned it for like a short period of time, did the music. Then around that same time in the mid-90s, that's when he relocated to New Orleans. He took with him a famous door that had blood all over it from the murder scene. It's a famous door. He took that door and put it on that studio.
Wow.
And when he moved, the door remained on the studio. I think recently it was like redone.
Damn.
So I'm not certain like what the hell happened, but this is historic door from one of the most famous murder scenes ever. He took here. Probably just got thrown away, man. Kind of pissed me off when I found out about it. Yeah.
You could walk in that place still. It's I don't think it's insurance company in the front. It's something, but you could walk in there and they'll walk you back there. You could, like, hey, can I check this out? I would go fucking check it out.
Some amazing. Yeah. So anyway, love that guy. He always worked out at Tulane. But again, like it's that same element, just running around. You got one of the biggest rock stars. He left after Katrina. LA has that's where all his friends and people are. But
yeah, I mean Trent Reznor, Lenny Kravitz. This was 2019. I think it was Essence Festival or something.
Mm-hmm.
I was standing outside and a Land Rover pulls over at the corner, and Trombone Shorty got out, and Lenny Kravitz, and they stood on the corner of the street sign and took a picture. I'm just standing there staring at Lenny Kravitz like, what the fuck?
You never know who you're gonna see, man.
And then what's her name? Is it Angela Bassett that played Marie Laveau?
Yes.
Okay. The dog parade, the Barkus parade was passing, right? It's coming. The Land Rover pulls up again. It's Trombone Shorty again. They come into the gallery. Angela Bassett. I'm like, holy shit. So I had that Marie Laveau painting I did where the texture was the headdress
I remember that
and the
painting.
rope.
Yeah, I remember that painting.
She walks in, I'm like, holy shit. If I could get her to buy this, that would be the shit. So she walks in, I'm showing her all my stuff, and she's looking at it. All of a sudden, Trombone Shorty comes in. He's like, hey, we gotta go. We're gonna get stuck right here. I was like, fuck.
A few more minutes.
They hopped in the car and hauled ass before the parade came.
Yeah.
I was like, damn it. I had it.
You're about to work your magic, man.
And then another cool thing, me and my buddy David's sitting in the gallery. I'm working on a jacket, putting studs on it. This woman walks in with her son, and you know, I'm working, I look up, and I look up again, I'm like, damn. Then they walk to the pin board, and her back's facing me. I'm like, man, fuck this. I get on my phone, I Google one of my favorite movies of all time, Death Proof.
Okay.
And I'm looking at her picture, and like, before I could say anything, she goes, somebody here likes Quentin Tarantino. And I was like, she's like, I was in one of his movies. And I was like, I threw my phone down. I was like, what the fuck? I was like, get the fuck out of here. I was like, I was about to tell you, you look like Butterfly. And sure the fuck enough, dude, it was her.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I was like, oh my God, hold on. I got a tattoo of Stuntman Mike on the back of my thigh.
Yeah.
I got the Death Proof logo here. I got Quentin Tarantino as a fucking vampire here.
Right.
I was like, you have no idea. So, dude, she talked to me for about an hour. She's on NCIS New Orleans, Vanessa Ferlito.
Yeah. I know what you're
And
talking about.
I gave her son a skateboard. And she lives out here doing that show. I don't know if it's still running or whatever.
I think it just came to a close, but it was here for a good bit.
And
I had a lot of friends that, built sets and did music. I mean, when these shows do stay here for an extended period of time, so much business, so much stuff. That's
so
cool.
I was like,
did you live in the corner? Do you know?
no, she lived in what you call that, Garden District.
Okay.
And I was like, so, because I've been in love with this woman. So I'm like, if there's ever any events, if you want to come over, she's like, yeah, take my number down. I was like, what the fuck? So I take her number down, I text her.
Yeah.
Dude, she starts texting me back and forth. I'm like, holy shit. She leaves. Dave is like, I don't know who that woman is, but she got the hots for you. And I was like, what? So we chatted back and forth. She sent me a picture of her and Quentin Tarantino. It was just, for me, that was just crazy, because I watched that movie over 100 times.
Yeah.
And I'm in love with that woman.
Right, yeah.
And
that's cool.
that was just a great story for me, a great experience,
That is awesome. Yeah, it's got some, again, it goes back, that's the good of where we worked and the people we know and what we do,
Mm-hmm.
You get to make those kind of connections. Oh, yes.
So, where do you want to take this tour company? Where do you see this going? What's your plans?
So, dude, I'm fresh. So, doing tours for 6 years. Became a tour owner for 2019 to this past year. So I just launched this Streets of Sin thing, and holy shit! Now it's like all of these things that you've done in life, tuition payments that you pay up, and I'm still challenging myself. But I launched Streets of Sin right before Halloween. And so much momentum and so much of the stuff that I learned from the previous, 6 years has helped make this such a great experience. And I try not to take it for granted. All these days of hustling, I'm at a point where I'm trying to expand my team. And the way it kind of works, you want to get some tours, and I got 2 routes now. You get 3 or 4 guides under you, and kind of share the knowledge. Bring some more people that love history, that love storytelling, that love performing. I want to share that with people that do care, and they're out there, man. I trained so many tour guides, that I see on a nightly basis. I'm like, fuck yeah, look at that, man, rocking that shit out. It really pumps me up. So, your question, I love to grow it. I do want to take storytelling, the standards, caring about history to to another level. There are like different levels, and I feel that a lot of people are just not hating on a Toyota Corolla or whatever, but people are fine with that. I want to be the freaking Bugatti
Yeah.
of storytelling. And again, there's always work to get there, but build it from here. Introduce some new guides. I would like to definitely go to St. Augustine or another city eventually down the road. St. Augustine, Savannah, Charleston, those are like my top 3 cities that I'd love to maybe kind of get a foothold in. And again, it's not to be like, oh shit, I want to just do it everywhere. But there's kind of like protection elements in regards to our tourist industry being in like a hurricane zone. Anytime the big hurricanes like Ida or these big ones in the past, our shit shuts down for months.
Yeah.
So in a way to kind of protect against my team and my family, I'd love to kind of maybe launch somewhere else to kind of have that protection.
So if anybody out there watches this video
Mm-hmm.
and they might be a big history person, maybe they live in some town, God knows where, they could hit you up and be like, hey, I'm huge into history,
Mm-hmm.
I love this stuff. I would like to take the jump, move out there, learn under you, get a job as a tour guide.
Hell yeah.
Is that possible?
Yes, definitely, absolutely. And again, it's one of those moments to where like I'm on the cusp of like hiring full-time guides. Just growing it. It's super early stages. Breaking off and being by myself. But yeah, absolutely. They can just go to streetsofsin.com, and I have this whole page on how they contact me directly. Do a little video chat.
Yeah. I try to advertise the shit out of you.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it. I had some friends from yours from Shreveport. They were some of my favorite guests. I have friends all the time, follow Butch, they come to my tour, and it always, like I said, anytime I have friends that do, point them in my direction, it's always my job to make sure that you motherfuckers look good, you know what I mean? So I'm like, oh shit, I'm like, this Butch's boy, I gotta step my game up. And I always try to hold myself, accountable every single night. But when I have friends and family that send their friends in, like, I'm all right, I gotta make them look good, Anytime, like a freaking, I had a fun couple the other night. This guy named Steven, he bought the tour for his girlfriend for Valentine's Day, his girlfriend Nicole, and they were the super, super nice folks, But he said that early on, and she's like, "This is my Valentine's Day present. He got this for me." I was like, "Oh, that's so nice." I was like, "I got you, bro. I'm gonna make you look so good at this." So anyway, I like using any of those like little things to help me, step my game up. But yeah, man, I love to kind of definitely be the beacon of awesome storytelling here in New Orleans. And New Orleans, like Paris, like Rome, like all these amazing cities that people travel to, it's very, very different. We will always be this kind of destination city for, what the French Quarter of history has been ever since it was created, ever since New Orleans was founded around 1718. And I can't stand, man. I can't stand when people come here and leave with a bad taste in their mouth.
Mm-hmm.
And if I can give them a great experience and educate them on some shit, and then me sprinkle that freaking dark side of, whatever it may be that I'm into, true crime and stuff, that's what I like. That's what I want to do with my projects always. I want to make sure, people leave with a, great taste in their mouth and had a good time. And,
One thing I want to help emphasize on what you do is I've been out there and I've seen it, and I've been on a tour where you hear the hecklers, right?
Mm-hmm.
They're like, "Ooh, there's a ghost." So there's this conception that people have, like it's like a ghost tour, like they're gonna go on a tour and see ghosts.
Yeah.
All right. So I want to shine light on. I want to change that to where it's like, no, it's not. You're not coming to see a freaking ghost with your camera.
Yep.
This guy's telling you some true crime, history, storytelling, good, real shit.
Yeah, the shit's dark enough. I tell people that all the time. There's tours on vampires and legends and lore. You don't need any of that shit. Our history in New Orleans is so jacked up.
Of real shit.
Give them the facts.
Yeah.
And it'll give you goosebumps. It'll leave you freaking out. That's it, man.
Yeah, so that's what I want to try to put out there.
Mm-hmm.
And just kind of like shine light on what you're doing,
Yeah, dude, I appreciate it. And it's one of those things, I know we go back to this, but, it's as different as, your painting and storytelling may be. Just being around like-minded, like I said, you've been really pumping me up with your work, seeing the progression, and that's the kind of shit, man. I think these videos, these conversations, can maybe help a little fire up somebody's ass,
and
that kind of stuff that came up.
For me, this is new doing these videos. They're not perfect, they're not the greatest quality of things, but I'm just using what I have and going head first. And as I go along, I'm gonna figure out, okay, I need to do this, I need to get this, blah, blah, blah. I need some microphones on each of us. But I think it's just important just to put the material out and not give a shit.
Yeah.
Just
absolutely.
Make progress instead of making no progress.
I have a problem with that, Butch. I ain't gonna lie. Yeah. So these new stories, every time I finish one, I go home and I'm like freaking writing notes. I'm like, that freaking sucked, or you use your hands too much. And so I like dissect everything from my body language, my tonality, my pace during my stories, how slow and fast I talk at times, the cadence, if I raise my voice. So I, like you, I need to take that, you know what I mean, from this conversation,
It's
a
topic.
Just jumping in.
It's a topic I've been drilling for the last month and a half now, and trying to spread that message that sometimes we allow our mind to stop us from doing something, right?
Yeah.
Your band, you could be like, man, I ain't got that good drum set. We can't play it. Nah, fuck that. Get some shit you could maneuver and y'all just go. Yeah. Right?
My first drum set was freaking phone books on the goddamn.
Yeah.
I know what you mean. Yeah.
So I'm trying to drill that, because I stopped myself from doing shit and from it's not perfect. I don't look good enough. I don't sound good enough. Whatever the hell it is, throw it out the window and just go chase it. Go do your thing. Yep. And for me, doing this is kind of like therapy. It's helping me to open up and release and become a different person, Yeah. And I don't care what people think. I don't care if somebody's watching my videos, talking shit. I don't give a crap, dude.
Dude, that's what I love about you though too, Butch. I've been knowing you long enough to where that's the same kind of shit I put out, man. We meet and come across so many people, and if we care, man, it takes away from our focus. That's what I like. All of these folks that spend their lives just maybe concentrating on hating on other folks. Or do it, please. It just gives me more and more time to just run. I'm just I'm
gonna just keep going.
Yeah, a lot of folks out there, that we walk around or putting bad energy. That bad energy takes so much energy away from, what you're doing or who you are, that when you just put out good shit, it's just so much easier. You're able to go so much, things are just, maybe not easier, not faster, but I think
somebody out there is going to appreciate it.
Yep.
Even if you're making music, if your music sucks, there's going to be somebody out there that likes it.
Yeah.
And just keep going. Your shit's going to get better and better and better and better.
Yep, the reps.
Same with this. Everybody's like, oh, I wish I could paint. I wish I was an artist. You are. Have you done anything?
Yeah.
No, I can't draw a stick figure. Do some paintings. By your 20th, 30th, 50th fucking painting, you're going to be good.
Yeah.
My first paintings look like dog shit.
Yep.
So just fucking do it.
Yeah, I tell people that all the time. People hear my presentations and my stories and they're like, fuck, man, it's such a gift. And I agree. They maybe be like some little aspect of gift getting in front of the performance aspect. But in the end, man, what people don't see is like what you're saying, the whole reps. Or fuck, when I'm practicing a new story, I'll go out there and talk to a brick wall for weeks. I'm practicing. This is, man, my favorite basketball player, Kobe Bryant. There's stories of him when he was on, the Redeem team. I want to say it was a few years anyway.
There's a documentary.
Yeah, that mother, dude. There's stories of him before they would practice. He's out there shooting 800 free throws.
Yeah.
And these other folks that party all night, they see him going. He's going to the facility. They're coming in from going out. And these are your highest level athletes. Yeah. And that's what he was doing. That's what sets people apart. Same thing. I was just watching some Larry Bird clips. Love Larry Bird, but I was still too young to understand his greatness. But he too is somebody that would show up before games for hours and just shoot and shoot. And there's a reason, you know. And again, it's the reps. Same thing, what you're saying, you know, like just pull it out, stick figure, you know, work it, work it, work it. And again, that's why I value our friendship so much. You always inspire me to do better, man. So anyway, I appreciate this conversation. And if anybody watches this shit, you want to take a tour, you know, you can contact us, Streets of Sin on Instagram. DM me, you know, say, hey, you watch Butch's video and I'll take care of you. Don't worry about buying a ticket. I'll hook you up with my friend and family discount and, you know, make sure that, you know, take care of any fans of yours.
Yeah, I got a lot of people that come visit the city here. And I'm always telling them, go take the tour. So they can follow you on Instagram,
Facebook, Streets of Sin, everything. Streetsofsin.com. They can email us, message us on, you know, DM's the easiest way. If they DM us, Streets of Sin, me, my best friend Talia Martin, she's like my sister. And, you know, say, hey, watch your video. I'm good friends with Butch or whatever. And make sure, like I said, I'll take care of it. Make sure you're happy.
The next thing we're going to do, maybe this weekend, I'm going to go out there on the tour and I want to act like I'm a ghost, but I'm going to film the process of the tour, get some footage to post to kind of give people the idea of the tour. I'm not going to film the whole thing.
No, that'd be awesome, man.
But you know, they'll get
a nice little trailer.
They'll get a little taste.
Yeah,
they get a little taste of it, like a little documentary, just showcasing what you exactly doing.
That'll be cool.
And their experience.
Yeah, and that'll be the new route, man. So I've been talking about this new route during the course. So I have one route that goes one way called the Empire of Sin. It kind of focuses, that's like the main kind of stories that you kind of have to offer in a sense. Like when people, you know, look up ghost or true crime story, you have to include certain aspects. Yeah. Now that I had that taken care of, I can do stories that nobody's done or go in a direction that nobody.
Yeah.
The stories are there. You have stories on every single block of this craziness. And I'm calling this new tour that you're going to go on, The Way of the Wicked. Okay. And it's just next level crazy, you know, dealing with love gone wrong. I do the French punishment, the executions, the little mafia, a crazy fire story, you know, just crazy stuff. So anyway, I'm super excited to share it with you.
People love that shit. Man. They watch that true crime shit on TV.
Fucking love it, man.
They binge
true crime podcasts have been the coolest, best thing ever. You'll find that a lot of, you know, girls, big
so
girls
many
fans, but
women love that shit. I'm like,
dude,
what the fuck?
They love that shit. It is kind of scary at times. I'm like, shit, man. Should I trust my mom and girlfriend? Like, what the fuck? But in that breath, one of the best compliments I get on a nightly basis is those husbands or boyfriends that tag along. They're like, man, I had a fucking blast tonight. I had no idea what. That's really cool, man. When I have that, or you know, somebody that's like, man, thank you for being so respectful with the subject matter, or talking about the history of something that nobody talks about. Those are the best compliments, man. So, yeah, man. I appreciate you talking, dude.
Yeah, man.
I appreciate our friendship, and yeah, thank you so much, man. I'm grateful, Butch.
I'm gonna load this video up as soon as I can. I'm gonna try to turn the volume of the sound up, make sure everybody can hear it, and in hopes of that, I can shine some light on what you're doing.
Cool, man. I appreciate you, man. So, I appreciate you. Well, I'm gonna shine all of this art all over the place, and like I said, until it's in every room of my house.
All right, brother. Well, I'll see you this weekend.
All right, man. Thank you.
All right.